Hey gang, and welcome to the first real content lesson of Philosophy of Punishment. Also, guess what I spent the last week learning how to do? It makes me laugh every time. First things first, I want you to go to Blackboard and find the PDF of the book of this class. It'll be under course materials or something like that. I forget what exactly it's called. I guess I could just look. It's right here. It's called course content. I don't know. I'll put more instructions in a email or something. But read the introduction of the book. That's the first thing I really want you to do, because there's some important information in there that we need. It's pages like 1 through 12. It shouldn't be that bad. You should be able to knock it out pretty quick. But while you are reading, here's some of the things that I want you to make sure that you do not miss. First things first, the definition of punishment that we're actually going to be using for the class. This book uses a 4-part definition of punishment. So, one thing you must take away from this reading is, what do those 4 parts mean? Some of them are kind of similar. Why are they each different and their own separate thing? And why are they each important? How are they limiting the scope of our discussion? And why? Why are we focusing on punishment that fits these criteria rather than other types? As a hint, my focus is on law and how that impacts people. Okay, the author goes into those in more detail, so look through that and figure out why. The next thing that we start to get a little introduction on is the idea of the aim and distribution of punishment. Aim means why? What's the goal? What's the purpose? Why are we bothering to punish these people? So whereas aim is the why, distribution is more whom. Whom do we punish? How do we choose between them? How do we distinguish who to punish? And honestly, we need to ask ourselves, how much? How much punishment? So any decent philosophy will need to explain these and justify their answers before we can even accept it as any kind of good theory. A little more deeply philosophically, how do we even begin to justify punishment in the first place? Like, what happened to turn the other cheek? How do we distinguish the things that are crimes from non-crimes? Like, there's all kinds of little things I do that, like, definitely aren't good. Most of them aren't illegal, though. And there's a lot of things that I do that are legal that many people in this country think shouldn't be. So that's fun. But without some kind of philosophical underpinning of how we decide what's good and bad, we can't even start to be like, well, you did bad, now you need to be punished. So we're given 2 kind of ideas here. The first being legal moralism. This is the idea that we criminalize... Oops, sorry, did I just touch the microphone? Whatever. Legal moralism is the idea that we criminalize things that are immoral. So that kind of makes sense. We allow things that are good and moral, and we punish things that are bad and immoral. This is a very common sense kind of approach. It makes sense to a lot of people, and it's very popular. So what's good about this idea? As you read, ask yourself. But then also, what problems does it have? One that might spring to mind is, who gets to decide what's immoral? There's lots of things that I think are immoral that are legal, and there's lots of things that I think are moral that are illegal. So how might that be a problem, and how do legal moralists respond to those problems? The next one that we've got is the idea of the harm principle. Now, this is one that was popularized by John Stuart Mill, the first of many philosopher names that you're going to need to learn. Spoiler alert, I think they're all old dead white guys. We'll see. But the harm principle is the idea that the only purpose for which power can be rightfully exercised over any member of a civilized community against his will is to prevent harm to others. His own good, either physical or moral, is not sufficient warrant. So that sounds pretty good. But I still have a couple questions. Why power? What is Mill talking about when he says power can be rightfully exercised? How does that tie into the definition of punishment that we're using, that you read about earlier? Well, you may not have read about it yet, but that I was talking about earlier. So, what power? Whose power? Power exercised in what kind of way? But also, how does this approach to crime avoid the problems of moralism? And what new problems does it create? What do we base our laws on if not morality? Like, we still have to decide what's harm or bad. Like, so puzzle that one out. Now, this is just the introduction, so get a good taste for this in your mouth. That doesn't make any sense. I should cut that. Ugh. Play around with this, puzzle over it, and see if you can answer the questions that I've posed here. I don't think I'm going to make an assignment about just this, but if you want one, let me know, and I'll come up with something. So, read that. Watch this video over again if you want to. I think you should, just to remind yourself of those questions. And I think that's it for now. I also wanted to add that I did look through your posts on Blackboard about what times would be best to meet and what your needs are. A lot of people said very clear instructions and expectations. I want to reiterate that assignments will be open all semester, so whatever schedule you need to complete them, you can do them whenever, so long as do try to do them on a pretty regular basis. I suggest you set your own deadlines. I can suggest some, of course, but I won't be marking anything late. Another one was about clarity, so I will try to make it extremely clear what's expected. Short version is, as long as you do all your assignments, you're going to be okay, unless you plagiarize. Plagiarism results in a big old 0 on any assignment, so do not copy and paste from any other student, do not copy and paste from any online materials or anywhere, because I'll be able to tell. What was the other stuff? Oh, there was concern around being notified of when assignments are posted and stuff like that. That I will always send an email if any new assignments are posted, and all announcements it's through Blackboard, so it all stays on Blackboard in the announcements section. I think that's it for that. I also wanted to say, with regards to timing, it looked like there was kind of an even split between morning and evening preference, and also the online session, the live sessions are not mandatory. So if you prefer to just watch the videos and do it and don't have questions, or even if you do have questions, you can email them to me or put in the Blackboard discussion just for questions for me, because I'll try to be checking that pretty regularly. But I was thinking maybe Tuesday mornings, Wednesday evenings. So maybe let's give that a shot. I will send an email with more detail, and I'll have to amend the syllabus with my actual Zoom classroom. I know the syllabus says office hours, but I'm not actually going to be in my office ever at any point, because I'm not trying to come to campus. They don't pay me enough to put my life at risk, and my wife actually has COVID anyway, so I'm not trying to put your lives at risk either. And honestly, if you can avoid going to campus, I strongly recommend it. But I just wanted to throw that in there. Thanks. So, I will stop this video here because I recorded this one in the daytime, and you can see way too much of how bad I am at makeup. So, we'll just stop it here. I will talk to you all later. Hit me on with email, I guess, if you have any questions, and I will talk to you later. Bye.